coach, and exactly what inspires you to do what you do?
So let me start with what inspired me to do what I do. I went through a very serious depression in the year 2014, and I came out of that depression with the question of what am I doing here? Because I had attempted suicide 3 times and I didn't die, and I was like, okay, so I'm supposed to be here doing what? And I was just tired of the rat race because it wasn't making me feel fulfilled. I was just feeling like I'm not gonna catch up, I'm not gonna get to where I'm going, and I don't even know where I'm going with all this running. And at that point, I was at the helm of like what I would call my career. I had a corner office. I was heading operations in a big construction company. I had everything I had dreamed of for a long time. And I was not happy at all. And so that question of purpose, like what am I doing here? What's the bigger meaning of life, is what got me to think of another way of doing life. And that's what I help people with. You know, I help people transform their mindset, ask the deeper questions that they've probably never asked themselves, so that they can have a more meaningful life, you know. And most importantly, make the most out of their challenges. Because now it's like we are in that tennis court, you know, that thing that throws tennis balls, it throws and throws and throws. That's how life is. So it's like, how can you build the muscle to keep hitting, or you're gonna get hit if you can't
keep on hitting the balls.
The balls. So that's what I do. And I know a lot of people think that you have to see me when you're in trouble or you're having challenges, but sometimes a goal can stress you out. Like you can feel like, I want to achieve this goal and I don't feel like I have capacity, I don't feel like I have the strength or the resources, and you come to somebody like me and we have a conversation that shifts your mind to see the immediate opportunities ahead of you that you can take and achieve your goal or overcome your challenge. So in a nutshell, that's what I do. So
what are some of the common mental health challenges in Kenya, you know? Just maybe you can just give us a brief on what you really run into on a daily.
So on a daily, so one thing that I do is that I work with other practitioners. So I work with therapists. I'm a trauma therapist myself, but I prefer to do transformation coaching because it has a certain depth. It's not just psychology, it has other angles.
Please expound. What is it about?
So it has metaphysical aspects, like, for example, the nature of our being as human beings. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So in my practice, I work with, do you understand yourself as a soul, for example? The issue of vibration and energy, the issue of how everything is connected, how your diet is connected to your thinking, it's connected to your actions, you know, things that are not just purely psychological. I also work with whatever your beliefs are about your higher power, whatever that is, how do those serve you in helping you get a bigger picture that gives you a context for the daily things in your life? Because if you don't have a bigger picture, then why are you doing everything, you know? So it's to help people also deepen their spiritual angle in their life, whatever that may be.
That's interesting.
Okay, so most of your studies and your research and how you work is centered around God in a way.
It's centered around the person.
Okay.
The person is the center. So you're the main character of your experience. So how do you get into the seat of being the main character so that you know that your thoughts, your feelings are directing your experience? Because you might not be in charge of what comes at you. You know, you wake up in the morning, you have no control of how the traffic will be, how the country will be, how the weather will be, but you have full control over your mindset. And so that's where I'm focusing on. So what are the things, the practices, the habits, the knowledge, the insights that you need to have a mindset that is resilient, open, creative, innovative, so that you can decide the experience you want and make it, no matter what.
Go ahead.
So basically, being on the ground, could you give us an overall view of what the current mental health state is in Kenya?
It's bad. It's really bad. I was at one of the big mental hospitals, private mental hospitals in the country. They have 3 branches. I walked in the 3 branches and they're all full. Bed space is full. And somebody being in that hospital for 10 days, okay, so they told me the charges per day is between 18,000 and 25,000.
Very expensive.
Wow.
18 to 25,000 per day. And they're full. You know why they're full? Because the level of mental illness is such that people cannot stay with their patients at home.
So
it's that bad. You know, it's not like you're just stressed and sitting in a corner. It's where maybe you're like maybe destructive or suicidal or homicidal, and you can't, you have to be managed. And that's just one hospital. So think about people who are walking around without awareness that they have some mental issue. People who are walking around with high levels of stress, because there's a difference between stress and mental illness, you know. So there are people with high levels of stress. Actually, I had a conversation with a bank manager this morning, and he told me the situation he was seeing during COVID in the bank, people going frustrated, defaulting, is now back. Like it's even 3 times more now. Yeah.
Wow.
You know, there are many Kenyans out there who don't take this mental health thing seriously.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's quite a number who are definitely concerned about the mental health of the country, the psyche of the country.
Yes.
You know, we're seeing a sense of apathy amongst especially younger Kenyans.
Yeah.
At a time when humans are very connected due to the internet.
Yes.
There's a lot of information out there. You would imagine that people would probably, you know, just read about how you can have a good mental health.
Yeah.
You know, you can read about practical ways of taking care of your mind, your state.
Yeah.
Why is it that we are very connected? We're living at a time when there's so much information, but at the same time,
Ni kwa ground.
Kwa ground, mazee, guys are loners. Guys are so stressed.
Yeah.
You know, guys don't know what to do. It's like guys have lost hope.
It's,
you know, how is it? It's such a conundrum.
Exactly.
What's going on?
We have an illusion of connection. Because what is happening is that we are actually getting more disconnected because of this illusion of connection. You think that because you've seen somebody's status and post and whatever, you know what they're up to, you know what their life is. So you don't reach out.
Yeah.
And you don't meet up because you're like, oh, I saw you went for lunch. I saw you are with this person. I saw you did this. So ninusi ya kuonana, you know, like what radio used to say kitambo. So it's an illusion, and the problem is that because we are in that illusionary state of like we are connected, we know so much, we don't do the work, we don't connect. And that's why one of the things that is suffering is mental health, because human connection is really key to human beings. Like we cannot survive without real human connection, and virtual does not replace real.
Oh, you think really?
Yeah. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't because there's, and that's why I'm saying my practice deals with who are we really, like as spiritual beings. We exchange energy. Did you notice that during COVID, when there were lockdowns, everybody was masked up, we were not greeting, there was an increase in infections, because even our interactions, we exchange bacteria. We exchange energy, we exchange vibration, we do more exchange as like physically than virtually. And then remember, virtually, people are able to create realities that are not real.
Yeah. Speaking of illusions, there's this ad that they used to do in the UK during COVID times where it was these 2 guys that go to soccer games for a whole season. And there'd be one who's always cheering, you know, enjoying, laughing. And then there's one who's just not bothered, can't be bothered to get up.
Yes, I saw that. I saw that.
And then suddenly the guy who's cheering disappears, suicide. And it's like the people that you least expect are the ones that go through it.
Exactly.
So do you think there's like a silent, you know, people are going through things silently, especially with mental health when it comes to guys?
Exactly. And you know, we have now the drinking culture is like huge in this country. We have normalized drinking every day. We have normalized alutas. And so people can numb their pain with alcohol and drugs and be hiding in the spirit of party. You know, I'm happy, I'm partying. But it's because when the aluta ends on Tuesday, they can't even talk to anyone, because the only time they talk to people is when they're asking each other on Friday, where are we hooking up?
Yeah.
And when we talk, we don't talk real stuff. We are talking about soccer, we are talking about gossip, we are talking about, you know, there's nowhere to share our feelings. And that's what is missing in this society, because feelings have been like put in a place like, don't talk about that, especially for guys. Don't talk about feelings.
Yeah.
And
so, just to add on what Steph was saying, because I feel like I had a follow-up question after she mentioned what you said. The happy person was the one who, unalived himself for some reason.
Yeah.
So now when you look in society, like the way we are amongst us, sometimes some people do things that you feel like, that's a bit off.
Yeah.
That's a bit, it's unusual.
Yeah.
So do we have how are we able to measure the rate and be like, okay,
the signs.
Now Steph needs help.
Yeah.
Kev needs to be, to be sorted out. Something like that. Like, how are we able to measure? Because how do we tell?
I mean, one of the main things that I like to share is that you are your first line of defense or protection. So let's start by, how do you know you have a problem? Because sometimes when it comes to mental health, I cannot help you unless you open the door for me to help you. It's like if you've locked yourself in your house and your house is burning, how can I get in? So it's that way with your own personal, you have to be personally responsible for your mental health. Like, how do you feel? Do you have a network around you, at least one person, at least one profession? There's a seminar I was doing, and I asked guys to honestly tell me if somebody went crazy in that room, they knew where they would take them.
Wow.
People didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
They were like, nitaanza wapi?
Yeah.
Like, what do I have a number? I don't have a number. Do I call 911? Do I call, That's the first line. Like, if you don't know that, you can't help yourself, you can't help anyone else, So you have to have a structure set up for yourself to know how do I know I'm not okay? What will I do if I'm not okay? So that using that, now you can be able to tell. Because how I tell somebody's not okay is because I know when I'm not okay. I know when I'm hiding stuff. I know when I'm, when I'm hiding from people. So, and when it comes to mental health, because I've been down that rabbit hole before, there's a feeling of isolation. And then there's a lot of anxiety, and you don't want to deal with another anxiety on top of anxiety. So you can either mask and pretend you're okay so that no one comes through and asks you what's up, or you can just disappear from people's lives, and people will be like, kwani nani went where? What happened to them? Because you don't want to deal with that conversation of why are you not okay? Because sometimes we don't even know why we are not okay. Because we think mental health is about my job is not working, or something, my relationship is not working. Sometimes it's just a brain chemical imbalance.
Interesting.
And there's no reason for why I'm not okay, and I don't want to keep being asked all the time, why are you not okay? Why are you not okay? So I just lock myself in.
There's actually a statement my GP used to say, mental health is the world's biggest silent killer.
Yeah.
And based on that, how can we start normalizing conversations with other people?
Yeah. First of all, the first stigma we have about mental health, if you think about yourself personally, if you meet somebody who's not mentally okay, what's your first reaction? What's your first mental and emotional reaction to them? It's like a defense. Either you're afraid of them, or you don't know how to deal with them. And because we don't know how to deal with people who are not in a good mental state.
Yes.
And so we are in avoidance. So it's so important for us to start normalizing. And maybe it's exposure that might help us. Sometimes it's practice that makes us know what to do. It's like, if you tell me, Carol, work these machines in this studio, day one I might not have any idea, but if you leave me here long enough, or I expose myself, I'll figure things
You'll be
out.
a master.
Yeah, so we need to expose ourselves. What are you doing personally to help wherever it is that you can?
Yeah. So what are some of the daily practical habits that you can do to, enhance your well-being, your mental well-being?
Yeah.
There's somebody listening and they're like, okay, you know what? I can feel something is not right.
Yeah.
But I can, when I start treating myself better early, maybe I can, I can actually handle this challenge in future very well.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the practical steps that somebody young out there is listening to us and like, you know what, tonight is a good start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing is, the core of any mental health issue is within you. You know, anytime you're going through a rough time or a challenge, we tend to project out there and think it's the economy, it's this person, and that way we disempower ourselves. So bring it back to you. Tell yourself, it's about how I'm looking at it. It's about how I'm perceiving it. So if that is the case, then you have the power now. You know, you first have to take back your power. Like, I can do this because it's about, I need to shift something about how I'm seeing. Maybe move to the other side of the room or the situation. Take back your power. Number 2, you have to be very connected with your body. Okay. You know, what happens is the mind is up here. It's like ideas, perspectives. We are all up in our heads, right? We are never in our bodies. We are never in our bodies. If I ask you right now, which is the strongest sensation in your body right now? Where is it in your body? You're not in your body. You're up in your mind, thinking thoughts. Maybe you're in the past or the future. So the only way you can practically help yourself is come back to the present moment right now. And the best anchor for the present moment is your body. So learn to take deep breaths and connect with your body. Like, just feel your body from your head to your toe.
Meditation is one of the ways you can do that.
Yeah, that's
isn't it?
And what I'm saying is mindfulness. So it's basically just listening to your body, noticing the sensations that brings your attention here. So whatever it is that is cooking in your head, because sometimes we are just cooking worst case scenarios.
It's true.
That will never happen.
They
stress us. And then one thing people don't realize, all these lifestyle diseases, they are stress related, because when you start visualizing a worst case scenario, your mind doesn't know you're not there. Correct. Your mind thinks that it is actually happening. So what it does, you get into fight flight mode, and adrenaline is injected in your system. And what does that mean? Your blood pressure goes up.
Correct, man.
Your sugar increases, because it's like you were about to run. If a lion comes into this room, what happens to your body? Your blood pressure goes up so that the oxygen can go to your cells. The blood sugar goes up. Digestion stops. Your immunity is suppressed so that you can deal with the threat. Now, immediately, the threat ends, you bring in another threat. So you're continuously in fight flight mode.
All your life.
Because the threats, and remember, the threats are not real. They are perceived, because you're going into the future, picking out worst case scenarios, staying in your past, being guilty and ashamed. And you keep yourself in that state.
So hold it right there. So you say 2 things so far. Some of the practical ways we can use to, enhance how we handle our mental health. Our state of mind, our mental frame. And of course, the second one, we need to get back into our body.
By breathing.
Exactly. Now, before you tell us the others, remember, guys, we're hanging out with Carolyne Gaithuma. She's a transformational coach, a mental health coach, and we're talking about building resilience in challenging times. Right now, I see it's 7 minutes to the top of the hour. Continue, Carolyne.
So the other thing is that I encourage people to journal. Journaling helps you to see how you're thinking, because your thinking is what needs to change. You know, a lot of the times we are thinking it's the scenarios that need to change, the circumstances need to change, and you don't have control over all the circumstances. I can say right now I have control of what time I'll get home, but is that really true? No. It's an illusion of control we have. And so when you journal, you'll start to see, this is how I'm thinking. And so you'll be able to see where to change your thinking. The other thing is, you need to eat well.
I agree.
Because your body becomes what you eat.
Junk in, junk out.
A lot of us are poisoning ourselves and then expecting to perform at optimal capacity.
Jesus. People at the back need to hear that again. Yo mutura and fries every day. JP. You stop that. Yesterday fries, juicy fries, today samosas. Come on, bro.
Man.
I'm kidding.
I know you are.
If you can take charge of what you eat with the seriousness that it deserves, you will turn around your life. Because I became vegetarian in 2021.
What?
So I haven't touched meat for 3 years now. And that was a decision that brought me a lot of consciousness.
Really?
Because I have to leave the house knowing what I'm going to eat. Because if I don't, I'll end up eating chips. Because in this country where meat is everywhere.
What else will you know?
Yeah, what else will you want
you know, it's interesting you say you're obviously you've been consistent with eating being a veggie, for example, vegetarian. But you know, people usually say when you don't eat meat, you somehow feel lethargic, like you're weak. You cannot perform at optimum levels. Is that true?
Imagine meat is what makes you weak because
Really?
yeah, because meat is very hard to digest.
You know me, I go gym a lot, and my coach usually tells us, Buddha, kula nyama beba chuma.
Punguza nyama. Sasa ndo punguza
Unataka
nyama.
kuwa strong.
Eh.
Sauce inake, bro.
Let me tell you, if you look at and then look at the kind of meat we are eating. See, umesikia sahi they are vaccinating the animals.
Yeah.
What are they going to be putting in?
God forbid.
They put hormones so that they can create a lot. You know, it's about consumerism. So they put a lot of hormones and things that make the animals grow faster and bigger so that they can make more money. And us are just putting them in our bodies, you know. We don't know what we are putting in our bodies. But what I know is, like, for example, meat, it stays in the digestion system for so long, yeah? So because of that, digestion takes a lot of energy from your body. The second part of your body that uses a lot of energy is your brain. So imagine digestion is competing with your brain. What will happen? Of course, digestion will
crash.
win. So now it will start minimizing the brain activity so that you can digest.
That makes sense.
And there's a whole, I call it, they say it's a conspiracy theory, but when I look at it keenly, I'm like, this must be real.
Yeah, they've been lying to us.
This whole shenanigan about food.
They've been lying to us for many years.
Us eating 5 times a day.
And milk.
Eating fast food, milk.
You don't think we're supposed to eat 5 times a day?
Nah.
No.
Not even 3 times a day.
Not even 3, apparently.
Do you eat to live or do you live to eat?
You know what? Hold it right there. We'll continue with this conversation when we come back in a bit. Guys, Carolyne Gaithuma, she's in the building. Mental health coach and a transformational coach. Yeah. If you have any questions, comments, we're going to PTR them in just a bit. Right now, Ro James, permission.
Yeah.